G'day guys, welcome to the Thunder from Down Under podcast. We had some technical problems there, but we pushed through them. I'm your host, Graham Solomon, and remember, if you're watching on Facebook, bash that like button, bash the heart button, give us some love, and also go to Oz Thunder from Down Under to the Facebook page, and you can watch it live, and you can like and follow, or go to the Graham Solomon Thunder from Down Under YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button, and become part of the family that's growing now, the Thunder family, where we get fantastic guests on and talk everything REI. And today we've got a special lady, a special guest who's coming back for the second time. She was on last week, and through popular demand, we've had a lot of people reach out to her and myself and say, can you dig deeper into what you're talking about? People love talking about that side of mindset and all the things associated with that. So thank you to Rayana. She's come back on, and she's going to do a 3-week series every Thursday. And today's topic is going to be mindset, and then we're going to do a 3-part series, and I'll get her to explain it when she comes on. But first, thank you for coming back on and giving us your time, Rayana. I know you're very busy, and it's a pleasure to have you back on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back here, Graham. I always like connecting with you, and I love your podcast.
Oh, thank you very much, and likewise, I watch your podcast as well. So this is good. It's just like we're rapping. We're rapping, two podcasters rapping, so it's fantastic. Very different parts of the world, very different accents, but one thing in common. And
yeah,
Rayana,
Graham's teaching me Aussie. He's teaching me the Aussie slang.
I'm teaching you Aussie slang at the moment. I'm teaching a few Americans Aussie slang, and they're going well. They're picking it up. They're throwing another shrimp on the barbie, and they're doing a few things just naturally now. And it's really good. So we're having a bit of fun. And the thing is with Rayana, she is a fun person, but she's very big on results and getting her clients results. And she's come back on because we're going to do mindset today. Now, week 2, we've got mindset. Do you want to just run us through the 3-week program so people who want to learn more about this can tune in every Thursday?
Sure. So I coach on 3 main things that I find are fundamental for anyone, whether you're a real estate investor or another kind of entrepreneur. And that is, everything starts with mindset. If you have a fear that's stopping you, you're not going to get any further than that. We have to deal with the fear or the limiting belief. And then there's habits and routines. What are the actions that you're taking consistently in your business? And really, you want to focus on revenue generating activities and building habits and routines around that. We'll be talking about that next week. And then the 3rd week in the series is support and accountability. And that's really, no one succeeds alone. We all need help. And support and accountability are just a way to keep you moving and following through. We all trip up. Life hijacks us. So we do need support and people who care what we're doing and who are watching to bring out the best version of ourselves, so we follow up and do what we say we're going to do. So today's on mindset.
There's an interesting point you just brought up about week 3 and support. And I always, people that listen to this, always say, this always comes up. If you take a coal out of a fire and put it a couple of meters away from the fire, it goes out. Without the flame there, it goes out. When you put it back in the fire, it reignites. And that is what you're saying about support and having networks.
That's a great analogy. I love that.
Yeah. So you need people around you. No man is an island. No man or woman is an island. You need people around you, and you've got to be connected with other people. And it just does something to a human being. And like you said, accountability, just knowing that you've got to push yourself where you probably couldn't push yourself before. And that's been around for thousands of years. Group synergy and leaders pushing people that they're trying to get to learn something and keeping them accountable. So that's week 3. Week 2's habits. So guys, join in. It's going to be awesome. We're going to keep them sort of short and sharp for half an hour so we don't waffle on too much. So I'm going to get straight into it now. And topic today's mindset. What are the main things that you see with mindset before we get started from entrepreneurs and real estate investors like who are watching this program, the main
Well,
mistakes that they make?
yeah, well, first, let's define mindset. Mindset is our thoughts, our beliefs, our values, our emotions, our attitudes, our perceptions, all of that. How we see the world, how we interact. In NLP, neuro linguistic programming, we have a basic presupposition that is perception is projection. For example, if you're shopping for a red truck, all of a sudden you notice a lot of red trucks on the road because that's what's of interest to you. That's what you're looking for. And when we have certain predispositions in our attitudes, like I'm a very optimistic, happy, cheerful, friendly kind of person. So that's why what I exude and project out into the world. And I'm looking for that versus someone who's a little more pessimistic or withdrawn or reserved. They're going to see the world in a very different way than I do. And they're going to interact with the world differently. But so that's just the definition of mindset.
I'll just
What you
jump
were
in
asked.
with your
Yeah,
red
sure.
truck. It's quite often known as the reticular activating system in your brain. That's the part of the brain that does that. When you write down, I want a red truck, I want the mind, the reticular activating system then goes out looking for it, isn't it? So there's actually
Yeah,
scientific proof that that's what actually happens.
right.
And I mean, you know, as a coach, that's why goal setting and things like that are important because it gets that part of the brain involved in and working on the activity, doesn't it? So, sorry, I'll just
Yeah.
sort of chuck that one in because that's sort of like,
Oh no, I love it. It's a good dialogue. And like you bring up a good point. For example, goal setting would fall into the mindset category, and then you would start there and then you would act on it with habits and routines, and then developing new habits and routines is difficult it until it becomes automatic, and that's where the support and accountability come in. But with regard to entrepreneurs and real estate investors, which basically real estate investors are entrepreneurs, it's just the business is real estate, but it's still the same thing. I found, I've been a coach for 22 years and I've coached hundreds, probably a couple thousand people by now. And what I've noticed is you just see patterns of humanity. You just notice that, wow, almost everyone deals with some kind of fear, frustration, or avoidance or fear of failure. That fear, frustration, and failure are part of the entrepreneurial journey or even life. You're going to face fears. Fear is you don't there's something about the unknown. You don't have control over it. And as human beings, one of our fundamental needs is certainty. But we also need a certain amount of surprise too. So there's a balance there. And then, so fear is facing the unknown, and there's all kinds of acronyms for it. Um, false evidence appearing real, or face everything and face everything and run, or I I prefer to look at fear as an opportunity, and I call it bluff. So I have this action, this process I've developed that I share with clients called Chase Down the Fear. And it is about fear's a bully and it's a phony. And what do you do with bullies? You've got to stand up to them because bullies are cowards. Fundamentally, that's what happens with a bully is when you call their bluff, that all their power deflates. And so that's all fear is. It's a bully that's trying to trick you and keep you small, and it's not real. So this exercise that I give clients is called Chase Down the Fear, and it's a journaling exercise where you treat fear like it's its own entity, and you start dialoguing with it, and then you start challenging it. Okay, so bring it on, fear. Okay, so my fear is I won't be able to make enough money to pay my bills. Okay, well, can I survive that? I might not like it, but I could survive it. And you just keep chasing. Okay, I can't pay my bills. Oh, shoot, I might lose my house. I might lose my car. I might lose. But if you keep challenging it like, no, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't want it, but I could survive it. And you get all the way down to your rock bottom. And what happens for most people, and did for me, is now what? And what it is, and not everybody is resilient. I'm a resilient person. It's okay, well, time to rebuild.
Yeah.
It's just, and a lot of the fears that most of us have are bullshit.
Mm.
They're not real. They're keeping you small. So,
Yeah. Well, that's the false
all fear
evidence.
is in
Yeah.
false evidence appearing real.
Appearing real. It's not real. Yeah.
Yeah. Face everything and ready.
Yeah.
Face everything and be ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with fear in the body, the physical sensation of fear and excitement are the same thing in the body.
Mm.
There's cortisol, there's adrenaline, there's serotonin. It's all going on in there. There's a stress response to a reaction to emotion you have. So fear is just anticipating a negative outcome, which is freezing you from taking action. You're using fear as an excuse to not take action in your business. Whereas excitement is, wow, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's dive in, and it's a great adventure. So you can choose.
Yeah, that's a thunderbolt right there. And I actually heard about that probably about a year and a half ago off a coach in Ireland, an Irish lady. She was a doozy. She was a great lady. And she said exactly the same thing, the same responses. And so she said, if you're going to go and public speak, or you're going to jump on a podcast for your first interview with someone, with Rayana or Graham or whoever, and you start going into that fear, and you start getting all those chemicals going in your body, just stop, think of the thoughts, and then get excited. Think, oh, what could happen if it was positive? And then get
Right.
excited, and you can use all those chemicals to boost you up. And then by the time you get there, you've lost the fear, and you're excited, and you bounce up on the screen. And she said, if you could consistently make that a habit every time you get in that fearful state when you've got to do something that you're scared of, you can actually then have control over your physiology. And I think
Absolutely.
Anthony Robbins is big on that. Change your physiology. She used to say,
Right.
get up and put your arms up
Change your
in the air.
state.
Yep,
Change your
change your
state.
state.
And Tony Robbins was the one who really got that whole movement going. I remember decades ago when he would talk about changing your state, and he would challenge you to smile and try to be depressed or angry or unhappy while you're smiling.
Yeah.
Physically, it's impossible to do that.
Well, we've got a slightly
you
different.
change your state. So a lot of people think that there's cognitive and there's behavioral. Okay, both of them work.
Yeah. Yep.
Or if you take a behavioral approach, if you're someone who gets up in your head a lot and you ruminate a lot and you really get yourself going, behaviorism would be a good approach where you don't think about it. You take action and you change your behaviors, and then you notice the results, and then the mindset stuff comes later.
Yeah.
Whereas the cognitive approach is maybe someone who's really emotional, getting into rational thinking about something and thinking through something so that they're not so reactive emotionally.
Yep.
Thinking through what the repercussions are going to be. So it's just a matter of what's going to work best for you. So, you can choose to be fearful or excited.
Yeah. I mean, you've got a choice. That's amazing to have the penny drop with that concept. Now, let's on mindset, let's do a case study, for instance. And so you can talk us through this. I'm Graham, the new wholesaler, and I have to start doing cold calling, and I'm petrified. I'm going, everything comes up. I'm in another country. I've got an Aussie accent. How am I going to pull this off? And you start getting all that thing. What would your advice be to Graham, the student or the client in that situation? How would you stop him and calm him down and get him
Right.
to be
The
more
first
confident?
thing is someone like that's got a fear that's really intense for them. You've just got to listen to them. And then the most powerful question you can ask anyone, whether it's personal or professional, is there anything else? Is there
Yeah.
anything else? And
No,
let
that's it.
someone empty out. And then we reframe in coaching and therapy. You reframe, you just say, so let me just make sure I got it right, Graham. You're just starting to wholesale. You're terrified of getting on that phone. Tell me, what's the thought can you trace back the thought that causes the fear? What is it? What is it about cold calling that you're afraid of?
Yeah, look, Ryan, I'm actually thinking about it, and my mum told me not to talk to strangers when I was a kid, and she drummed it into me. So if someone pulled up and asked directions when I was a kid, I'd shot. So I was
Okay.
always scared of strangers, like initial contact
So
with
that's
strangers.
triggering you to it's not safe to
Yeah.
call strangers. Okay.
Yep.
And okay, is there anything else? Just sit there for a minute and just is there another thought besides
I
I
might get
shouldn't talk
rejected. What happens if they
you
say
might
no and
get
I get rejected?
rejected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's about it. I think. I think I'm worried that. Well, actually, no. There's another one. I just thought of it. I might not be good enough at what I'm doing. I might fail.
Okay.
I might not succeed in what I'm doing.
Yeah. So you don't talk to strangers, you might get rejected, you might fail because you're not good at what you're doing. Man, that's a lot of pressure. I wouldn't get on the phone either.
All right, no worries. Well, I'll.
Well, no. No, it's just first it's listening and then
Yeah,
it's reframing, letting someone know you get them. And then it's just validating those feelings are real. They're real in your body. They're real. And now then comes in the coaching of breaking it down. And it's like, okay, or looking at it from a different point of view. That often can help. So, Graham, let me ask you something. Do you like helping people?
yeah, I love it. I love helping people,
Okay.
and yeah,
And you really like real estate too, because you've been doing it
yep,
for many years, right?
love it,
And all
love it.
those people that you bought properties from, they were strangers at one point, right?
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And how
Become
did
really good
those
friends with
things
them.
work out?
Become really good friends with them.
Yeah.
We could have
Okay.
a coffee still now because I
All
served
right.
them as best as I could. Yeah,
Okay. So, and then this word cold calling, it's really a shitty term.
yeah,
So let me give you an example, Graham. I was working with a gentleman a couple of years ago, and we were on a coaching call, and he said, I really don't like marketing. And I said, okay, I get it. Do you like looking for properties? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, you're not going to market anymore. You're just going to look for properties. It's
yeah.
just it's just
Reframing.
looking at
Yeah,
it from a different point of view. So where I'll go with people, because this is a common fear, is
yeah,
getting on the phone and talking to people. One, it's not cold calling.
yeah,
You aren't selling anything.
yeah,
You're calling to see if there's someone in a distressed situation you can help out and help them move on with their life. So what I'll do is, look, let's remove all the performance anxiety. Who cares what the results are for right now? Okay? And how just to help you get more comfortable with calling, would you be willing to spend an hour calling, or would you rather count the calls that you do? Which would be easier for you?
to spend an hour calling.
Okay. Versus I need to make 25 calls.
Yeah,
Okay. And what I want you to do is in that hour of calls each day when you do it, before you start calling, think about what the calls are. That you are calling people not to sell them anything, not to pressure them to do anything. That first phone call is just to see if that is someone you can help out of a difficult situation. How do you feel about making those kind of phone calls?
Yeah, well, that goes back to what you're saying, that, in the past, I've really helped people and served people, and they've become, not, friends and good associates. So, yeah, I'm feeling more comfortable with it now because I'm just seeing them not as this stranger that I probably had a phobia against. I'm seeing them now as somebody that I can help and build a relationship with. So yeah, I see what you're doing. It's just putting it
Well,
into a
and it's just
positive.
helping them work through the logic of it. And then the other thing is, now, Graham, who cares what results you get? Let's remove that. This is just all you're going to do this next week is make an hour of calls every day. And if you don't want to do the hour all at once, break it up into 30-minute sessions, because then it'll be easier. And all you're doing is getting on the phone to
Yep.
help someone. That's
Yep.
it. Nothing else matters. What we're going to do is just have you get comfortable getting on the phone. And then as you get more comfortable and the fear subsides, then we're going to work on skill. Then we're going to, build up to KPIs. How does that sound for you right now,
That's
Graham? You
awesome.
willing to kind of
Yeah.
inch into it a little bit?
Yeah, I'll do a timeout from our role play. So the first one, my fear was don't talk to strangers. So now you're saying you've got me thinking they're not strangers. They're
The people you can
people I can
help.
serve like I have in the past. So all the anxiety's gone down. Then the second one was rejection. So now you're saying, well, you're just having a conversation with someone. You're not trying to
Yeah, you're
close
not
someone.
selling anything. You're not trying to convince them. You're finding out if there's someone you can help. So it
So
addresses
now
that
that
one.
takes the pressure down for point two. And then the third one was
Fear of
what happens if
failure and not
failure
performing well,
and
and
not
you're not.
performing,
There are
and
no
you're
results to get at first.
saying, well, just do it in, you know, 8 15-minute stints, or do it in. So now you're taking the pressure away. You're letting the pressure valve off. So you've just reframed in 10 minutes three things that could stop someone from doing what they enjoy doing. So anyone that's listening, that's exactly what Rayana does, and it's reframing and getting you in from a anxious spot into that excited or comfortable spot. So that's awesome. I really appreciate that. So sorry to butt in. We'll keep going, but I just wanted to
No,
sort
no,
of
no,
do
that's
a
great. But
recap.
I want to cap that piece off with, it's still something you've got to develop a habit around. That's a grind.
Yeah,
And so helping with the mindset stuff, that it is not cold calling. Oh no, I'm going to call and find out if there's someone I can help today.
yeah,
Doing those little mindset hacks helps it not be such a grind. Breaking it down into smaller increments. I have some clients that are very, I call them whirling dervishes, but they're more ADHD kind of people. They can't stay focused too long on one thing. I'm like, use that to your advantage. Do calls for 15 to 20 minutes or 30 minutes, then go do something else, then come back, do calls a little bit. Make it work for you. That's the other thing, is set yourself up for the right time of day for you to do it, for the right equipment, and approach it in a way that's going to empower you, so you're not going to avoid it and resist it.
there's some really good points there. That, I mean, on top of a role play, that's gold right there. Is exactly what you're saying. If you're a hyper person or you're a tech person, go to your strengths. Use your strengths, and
Yeah.
then, like you said, if you're a hypo ADHD type person, use that to your advantage and chop and change and do. I mean, you can
Yeah.
multitask and do 20 things in a day that someone else can't. So that's another thing, isn't it? That's a key point there coming out of our role play. Is, obviously reframing all of that to get into a comfortable space, but then adjust to the sort of person you are. Run your business to your strengths, not your
Yeah, that
weaknesses.
is so key, Graham, right there. We're so used to being sheeple,
Yeah,
and that we're so programmed to be a cog in the wheel in corporate America or corporate Australia or wherever you're at, that there's these shoulda, coulda, wouldas that
yeah,
run us. And it's all about looking good and caring what other people think and fitting in. I mean, to survive, we are pack animals. It's like,
yeah,
got to survive. But we don't realize that now when it's your business, you get to figure out what's your flow.
Yeah.
Let there be a flow. Like for me, for example, cold calling in the morning in the first half of the day, no. That's my thinking, creative, online doing, reading, studying, coaching time. I'm better talking to people in the afternoon because I've woken up, I've gotten all my creative. Now it's like I feel free. All right, all the real work's done. Now let me talk to people.
Yeah, and you've
You
had
know,
your 2 coffees, you're pumped up, you've been on the phone.
I don't drink a lot of coffee. I'm
You've
not
been
good with.
you've been talking to people during the day and got a bit hyped up in your conversation. So then you
Yeah,
can take that into your cold calling later in the day.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all these
Do it
little
at the
things.
time of day that's best for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like if you're the sort of person that's up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you go to gym and you're doing gym and you do your stretching and you do your
yeah.
meditation. Well, you're ready to go straight away. But if you're not that type of person, and that's the most
You'll never
interesting.
see me in a gym at three
Yeah,
o'clock in the morning.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, but you know what I mean. Like everyone's different, and this is what the new wave of entrepreneurs are doing now. Is they're doing it on their own time. People are
Right.
becoming more independent and leaving, especially after COVID. They're going, well, that didn't work. How did that? Like Dr. Phil, how did that work for you? I'm getting out of that, and I'm going to actually get up in the morning and do what I'm good at and do what I want to do, and I'm actually going to turn that into an income. So it is changing, it is evolving. And what I noticed there, you're coaching people. We've got a lot of real estate gurus out there that are actually saying, well, no, at this time you do this. So they're basically just doing the same thing as corporate America did. So people are going and getting the wrong type of coaching to start off with. You've got to get someone that's into mindset. I know a few coaching programs or coaches that's the number one thing they start on, mindset. And they bring people back because everyone wants to skip over it and get into the nuts and bolts. I want
Yeah.
to make money. I want to know how to close this. And they keep dragging it back, saying mindset. So, I mean, just what you've talked about now is amazing. And if people listen to that, there's some real gold nuggets and thunderbolts in there that you can grab and you can use today for tomorrow's cold calling. Or you go, oh, well, I'm going to go to 2 o'clock. I used to do it at 7 in the morning. I was really so that's awesome. And
Yeah, and there is a thing as an entrepreneur, you've got to balance wanting the freedom,
yeah,
but
yep,
you do have to be structured. You have
yeah,
to schedule. I say, let your schedule be your boss. You've got to block in revenue generating activities like networking, marketing, making offers, evaluating properties. Those things, you have to do them. You
yeah,
have to schedule them. But like I have a client, she kept thinking she needed to get up at 5:30 in the morning. And she's like, because she thought all real estate investors are up at 5:30 in the morning. I said, well, I'm not.
yeah, yep,
I said, I don't start my work day until 10. That's what works for me
yeah,
because I'm taking care of me and everything I need to do at the beginning of the day. So the rest of the day is everybody else's. Make it work for you because she's a night bird. And
yeah,
I said, well, then at night, do stuff.
yeah,
The
yep,
thing that's great about this business is unless you're actually talking to someone during daylight hours, but there's a lot about it that you can do whenever you want.
yeah, exactly. Now
So then
we've
yeah.
covered fear and failure. We've sort of in our role play. You covered failure a bit in our role play. So the last one's frustration.
Well, all right. So and I will address that, but these are all three connected to each
Yeah,
other.
yep,
We're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of failure. And what I want to say about failure is fail forward.
yep,
Actually, the people who are extremely successful, the Tony Robbins, the Elon Musks, the, Bezos and, um, you know,
the Grant Cardones and
Bill,
those sort of people. Yeah,
Gates and all
yeah,
that. They are relentless about failing and failing and failing and failing until what they're doing is they're being fearless about figuring something out. That's all failure is you haven't figured out what works yet. That's
mm,
all. That's all it is. Don't make it mean anything about you. That's an ego thing. Let it go. Be, Zen mind, beginner mind. Have the humility to be a beginner. Be willing.
Yeah.
I have a lot of clients that I coach, and we do these small boot camps, unstoppable real estate investor boot camps, maybe 10, 12 people in them. And we keep them small on purpose so that we create a safe space for people to deal with themselves. And people are terrified of failing. And I said, excuse my language, but fuck failure.
Yeah.
Because it is robbing you of your dreams, and you need to go out there and fail fast. Get out there and fail, because that is you paying your dues on your way to mastering your craft. You have to practice it to master it. You have to keep failing in order to figure out how to succeed. It is part of success. Extremely successful people have failed more than people that are failures who let that one failure stop them. And then they use it as an excuse to stay small and be a victim in life. Now, frustration. Frustration, and the reason these are all together is because they're related to each other. Frustration is when you're learning something new and you haven't mastered it yet. So I have a client that the first month or two that we were on coaching calls, she cried on every call. Not because I was being mean to her. She was frustrated. Frustrated she didn't know more. And she blamed herself. Well, I don't know this. There's something wrong with me. I said, wait a minute. There's nothing wrong with you because you don't know something. You're learning it now. You're at the beginning of the process. We put so much pressure on ourselves that I should be further along. I should know this. Says who? You just got to the party. Yeah. Here, let's get you a drink and feed you so you can settle down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, so I have a lot of clients that'll, just ask, like, how should they be introducing themselves on a call, or how should they talk to private money lenders? And it's like, be honest, be transparent. You're new. You got to start somewhere. There's nothing wrong with you being new. So what? If you don't make it a big deal, they won't. Yeah. So frustration, I like to tattle on myself, and then I'll wrap up frustration. I remember many, many years ago, I realized if I could type faster and read faster, I could get a lot more done. And so I found this little typing course, and it was free online. And I went, okay, I'm going to schedule this into my morning routine. And I'd schedule 30 minutes in, and I'd start practicing typing. And I would hit these plateaus forever. It seemed like forever. And I'd be typing the same damn thing hundreds of times. And it was so frustrating. And I was like a baby. I was glad that no one was around, because I would be like, ugh. But I kept practicing because I'm a determined person. And I would eventually break through for the accuracy and the speed. And then the next few times that happened, I went, I'm just going to hang in there. I'm just going to keep practicing, because eventually I'll have the breakthrough. People aren't willing to do the work, especially in the West, especially in the United States. We're the fast food nation. Everything's convenient. We've had it good. And so no one expects, you just expect it's going to be easy. Stop expecting it to be easy. It's not going to be easy. You've got to deal with yourself. Then you've got to put in the time to practice the skills. And in real estate investing, there are a lot of skills. And if you let up being afraid to talk to sellers, or not being confident about your numbers, well, how do you get confident about your numbers? Start running numbers more. Start evaluate. Go to open houses. Evaluate them. Get a coach. Get a mentor. Get out there and evaluate a bunch of properties. You're afraid of making offers? Go make a lot of offers. Those are just skills that you haven't mastered yet. Fear, frustration, and failure are robbing you of your dreams. And that's just mindset. If you get stopped there, you don't have a business, you don't have a life, you're never going to be successful as a real estate investor, because it's a numbers game. You've got to really do a lot of numbers, especially right now when in the United States there's a housing shortage.
Yeah,
So supply and demand. You've got to
yeah,
have the skills if you're going to compete.
yeah. That's an interesting point too. With people that get into real estate investing and let's say wholesaling, a lot of people jump into wholesaling because it's easy entry point. They may have been successful in what they did for 20 years, so they come in thinking, well, I should just pick this up because I've been at
This
top of
should be
the game.
easy because I'm
Yeah,
smart and I'm capable. Yeah.
and they forget about the 10,000 hours thing. You got to clock your hours up to be good at something. You're going into a completely new industry with, like you said, a lot of people don't even realize, like with wholesaling, the marketing. It's all you're basically a marketer. So if you've got no education in marketing and you've got no desire to do it, you're going to struggle. So you're going to have to get yourself in that zone. And once again, then you've got to be able to talk to people and connect with people. So I think that's another underlying problem is people jump into it and think, well, in my business as a tradesman, I was at the top of my game. I just made it happen. And then when they get hit with this wall, their confidence just drops and plummets, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying that what you have to do is you have to break yourself down and start from the bottom and work your way up. Then the
Yeah, you
confidence will
got to
come
pay
back.
your dues. Be
Yeah.
humble. I mean, like I worked at a company called Fortune Builders, great real estate investment educational company. And it was incredulous to me. There's a good word that people would invest 25 to 50 grand in an educational system. And then we would have to drag them along to take time to learn the system. They just thought because they spent the money, it was like do me and a get rich quick. And it's not. It was like what I tell people to put it in perspective is you just invested in real estate investor university.
Yeah.
It's going to take you 2 to 3 years to
Yep.
get up and running. And it doesn't mean it's going to take you 2 to 3 years to make money. If you're a rock star and you are someone who can manage your time well and you're willing to put in the time and you're willing to work through the fear, frustration, and failure, you'll get there sooner. But all the top 5% in the industry I know were not rock stars out of the gate. It took them 2 or 3 years to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's a university, it's a learning curve. You are starting a new career, a new business. You can't expect that you're just going to dive in and tomorrow you're going to get a deal. It's like, no, you have no idea what the journey is and how much there is to it, how much skill there is to it. There's a
Yeah.
lot of skill in this business.
Oh, definitely. And I know people that are at the top. They've been in it for 10 years, 10 to 15 years, and they are at the top of the industry and they're at the top of their game. And they have actually, they openly confessed they didn't do a wholesale deal for over 12 months when they started. And once they broke through that fear, failure, and frustration that you're talking about, they just went from there. So anyone that's listening that's fairly new and thinks that, oh, I can't do this, I'm going to drop out, I'm not getting any results. Some of these people are the leading people in the industry. They're out there making millions and millions of dollars per year, and tens of millions of dollars. And you've got to really put that down that any business you get into is going to take 2 years just to get to the point where you actually
any business. So
any business
don't
whatsoever.
throw in the towel here because you're just going to start over somewhere else.
And
especially if you're approaching it like an entrepreneur and not a technician. You're looking at all the roles, all the response. You don't want to be a solopreneur slave where you're trying to do it all. You start to approach it very organized in a systematic, organized way where you're looking. Do you only want a business that requires you in it? Well, then you're really not an entrepreneur. You're a solopreneur slave because you want a business as an entrepreneur that you can walk away from and it keeps running and making you money, whether you're there or not.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the analogies a friend always says to me is, he works with students in a coaching program, and he says to me, people come to me and say, oh, look, I've spent $200 for a month for 3 months on marketing. I'm running out. And he goes, this is a business. If you went to buy a Subway franchise, you'd be 200 grand down before you even open the door. You got to buy the franchise. You got to do this. You got to do the training. You got to hire staff. You got to buy. He goes, really look at the opportunity you got here and put it into perspective. So I think that's a real, like you said, eat some humble pie. Have a look at this is one of the lowest cost entry point businesses you
Yeah,
can
and
get into.
people like, oh, I don't have money for marketing. All right, then invest time.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but if you're in business, I have another niche with women entrepreneurs. They think they have a product or service, and they're not doing anything to market. They're afraid to get out there and let people know they exist, and they're wondering why they're not generating any leads or any business.
yeah,
You know, you've got to be willing to do the work.
yeah. And you've got to enjoy it. This is what we're talking about. You've got to pick something. If wholesaling or investing in real estate that isn't your thing, it's not juicing you up and getting you pumped up. Maybe go across to something else like share trade. Like if you're an entrepreneurial type
And
person,
be honest with
be
yourself.
honest with yourself. Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And
You
that's
might
part of
not have the
mindset.
right temperament for this business. You have
Yeah,
to take risks. You've got to have courage. You've got to be an action taker. You've got to be someone who is willing to work hard the first few years and it will pay off later. And you have to invest time and money into this business or any other business to get it up and running.
yeah, and personal development, which is exactly
Yeah.
what you do.
Well, being an
And
entrepreneur automatically forces you to
yeah,
grow as a human being.
yeah, yeah.
It really
All
does.
right. Well, that's awesome. We could keep going, but I know that you've got another appointment. We keep
Yeah.
moving. So I want people to go. You know, obviously, when you're on last week, we did all the places, the contact points. But firstly, people need to go to the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor Facebook group, don't they?
Facebook group.
They need to get in there because the amount of content that you're putting out is amazing. And we're in a networking group, and it's coming across into our group. So you're just out there. It's there. So people look for it. And these are the sort of things that will make you better as a real estate investor, as a wholesaler, a realtor, whatever you're doing. What Rayana does are these strategies that make you better. So firstly, jump in the Facebook group, look at all of her
And then
content,
schedule a connection call with me.
get a connection
I
call.
do free trainings every week on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
I rotate through different topics.
Yep.
We'd love to have you in our community.
Yeah. Get in the shallow end, dip your toe in, get in. Look, there's free content, there's free stuff you can do. And then when you see the value of what Rayana brings to the table and what she can help you, empower you to do, there's other stuff down the track, that paid stuff that you can go and you can work with her personally. But just there's so much stuff out there, guys. Take advantage of it. And mindset is one of them. And thank you, Rayana, for coming and talking about breaking down fear, failure, and frustration, because everyone that listens to this will know we all suffer from it. So we need to constantly work on it. So I really appreciate you breaking it down in layman's terms, because most of us that jump into wholesaling and investing are from, working class backgrounds. So we need to educate ourselves on this to be better. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. We're starting. I just want to do a quick plug, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no.
We are starting another Unstoppable Real Estate Investor Boot Camp in June or early July.
Yep.
We keep the groups real small because they're intimate. We give you a lot of attention. And so if you're interested in a 12-week program that's going to help you with your mindset, developing habits and routines around your marketing, your acquisitions, your list building, and make offers, then please join my group, the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor, and schedule a connection call with me. I put my link to my calendar all over the place in my group.
Yep.
And let's see if that boot camp's a good fit for you.
Well, I think what I have to do to pay you back it'll be 4 sessions you've come on to the Thunder from Down Under podcast and shared so much of your time and your free content. I think I should be a crash test dummy. I should come in and we should document for the Thunder fans a bit of the action. We'll do some little skits of you making me get down virtually for 10 push-ups. I think I need to commit to that, because I've talked to you about doing your boot camp. Maybe this one coming up is what I need. And maybe we can get some footage.
Oh, you would be great in there. And I think you'd enjoy it actually.
Well, I
Graham.
think
So we can talk about that. Yeah.
yeah, we've spoken about it, and I said I would do it, and I've had a few things going on, but maybe the June July one could be the go. Get me through winter over here. I'm a bit cold. I need to get pumped up, and I could just see you with the clipboard and the coach's hat on and the whistle, just telling Graham off for goofing off in the background and getting into him. So I might make a commitment to the Thunder audience that's what I'm going to do, and we'll get some footage and we'll make a little package of it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
I
think so.
Fun.
So I'll talk to you off air. We'll talk off air about that, and I encourage other people. And like I said, if you're one of these people who wants to dip your toe in the water, jump in the free Facebook group and have a look around. There's no commitment. This isn't. You won't be sold because Rayana won't work with people who aren't ready. She won't. It's a waste of her time.
Yeah, so you have to come really motivated.
Yeah, that's right. So
work, or
just jump in a group
I'm not
anyway.
Work with you. I'm not interested in dragging people uphill.
Yeah.
You got to come motivated.
That's right. So this isn't a sell. This is all jump in the group, and I always encourage anyone that comes on. They've generally got Facebook groups. Jump in and get the free content and network within people, like-minded people within the group. So do yourself a favor. Jump in the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor, and look, at the moment, Rayana's working hard and she's just flooding it with information. So jump in there, take advantage of it, and we'll be back next Thursday. Rayana, to the second one, and this is the one I love, is habits, success habits. I think that's a huge key point, and that's something that didn't know about, that I've introduced into my world, and I reckon it makes a huge difference. So, guys, join us next week. Join myself and Rayana the Star, we call her, and she's going to talk about habits next week. So we'll go now and we'll sign out. And as I say each week, because of our star friend Rayana, you have been thunderstruck. See you later, guys.
Thanks, Graham.